Carlos Nelson with What's Up Kansas City. And today I have a special guest. And normally I say, who do we have here? But this guy is so special, I know his damn name. Jamu Webster. Uh, I would say he's one of the leaders in our community, not just by virtue someone says you're a leader, but by his actions. And I wanted to talk to Jamu about some problems that I see we have in our community, and just as they say, real talk. Uh, Good evening, Najamu.
Good evening, Carlos, and it's a pleasure to be on the Black media, the only Black media that we have is digital here in Kansas City. And I'm sitting here wondering why everybody else is not on our own Black media, but we're gonna take care of that.
All right. Hey, Ajamu. That that's really what it's about. It's about, hey, maybe we skipped a beat, maybe we missed something, but we're gonna take care of it.
That's right.
All right. So first topic, right out the box, hard topic. Do you feel that blacks talk to each other straight
By straight, do you
in
mean
general?
being
In
honest?
general. All right. I
Is
should
that what you mean?
because I don't have no journalistic training.
Uh-huh.
I should have set this up. All right. I feel that the black community is split in three different sections. You have the lower structure, which is that all of us come from. So whoever's watching and you black, you came from where I'm talking about, one way or another. All right, that's the the lower end, the poverty end, the social, economic, and educational part of our community, which is the largest part of our community. Then you have the would be middle class. And I'm not talking about the solid middle class, I'm talking about uh, kids that basically are your daughter's age. And, they're just getting in there. They're not there because they still need help from mama and daddy at different times. But that class, and that's a social, educational, and economic class also. And then you have ones that are in the solid middle class. They think they're in the upper crust, but they only in the middle class. And that's the ones that have these degrees, these doctorates, and they've been able to have uh, uh, economic success through their educational success. So those are the three tiers that I see. And I'm saying, for one, let's talk about the third class, the upper class. That's primarily who I'm saying, do we talk straight to one another about the issues that are affecting uh, our black community.
Well, Carlos, first of all, I'm not in that class, so it's not like I can tell you what happened at the last meeting. Um,
You are
the,
just
the question that I get from you, what you're asking is whether or not that group who has the most resources is in communication with the rest of us so that we can have some type of coordinated plan of action. So I would say that there are some that are in that group who are having a reach back. Let me give you an example. Um,
This is brought to you by Africana Art.
as on a weekly basis where he is connecting with folks that are in his network, like Michael V. Roberts from St. Louis, who many of you probably have heard of. He and his brother, they have a over $1 billion operation that they're running from all the businesses and the hotels and things they have. They're directly talking to our people. Roberts does seminars. Most of the people he employs are African American. And in addition to that, he is invested not only there in St. Louis and in Chicago and right in the community, he even is investing in Africa and Ghana. And they're having conversations within that network. And in fact, I hear George Fraser use the term that he's a race man, which means someone who's dedicated. And many people out there listening to this may not be familiar with that term, but there was a time back in the turn of the last century up until like the 40s. That's the most honorable thing that your people could put on you is to say that you're a race man or a race woman. Marcus Garvey was a race man. Booker T. Washington, a race man. So that conversation is a term that they put on themselves because they're giving back. You have other segments.
I gotta put that on me then. I got. You got that stamp for Jamu?
Oh, look, I had an elder tell me that, and my chest stuck out so far one day, man. I was like, I couldn't imagine anybody could just bestow a gratitude on my shoulder, man, that I would want to carry higher than that. So they are having those conversations, and those conversations are open because they're bringing more people into it. And I think there's a difference between people who are icons and people who are heroes. So if I could break that down from what this is a conversation that I heard Michael Roberts lay out, the brother we were talking about from St. Louis. He says, one of the challenges we have is there are people in that well-off group financially. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking that they've escaped the police or anything like that, that they still don't face the same kind of racism but from a financial standpoint, they're doing financially well. And typically we associate that with celebrities, entertainers. Now, you can be an entertainer and a celebrity and be an icon, which means this is someone that people look up to, like a Jay-Z or someone that's made a lot of money and he owns a lot of businesses and people look up to him. But that's different from being a hero. A hero is someone who would be committed to using their resources, even to the point where they would sacrifice their position for their people. In other words, a race woman, a race man. So it's a difference between a Michael Jordan and a Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick has enough money that I'm sure he's going to be set. He had a brilliant career in front of him. He put that on the line because of what he saw happening to his own people out there in the street. And he paid a severe price for that. And he knew he would, and he did it anyway. So
that's
he's
like
more
my
than
teammate John Carlos.
Just like John Carlos.
His wife committed suicide after that. People don't understand when you out and you're the tip of the spear.
That's right. And so the difference between an icon, if you will, and a hero is that an icon can do those things that they do and continue to stay in celebrity, continue to stay in favor, continue to make a lot of money. But when a hero steps out there, they're going to take the hit, but then we get the benefits from that. So to answer your question, those who are in that higher economic group, if you can differentiate them between who the icons are and who the heroes are, the heroes are not only talking to each other, but they're talking to us. The icons are saying, look at me. Look at me, look what I've done. And that in itself is not enough to advance us forward. Oh, I'm on a Zoom call, so I'm on a call right now. Okay. Carlos, can you?
I can pause.
Can you pause? Okay. All right. So going to your question, Carlos, we do have different groups of our folks in the financial higher bracket, and those who are in that bracket who are icons, the ones who achieve, and yet their achievement is something that says, hey, look at me, look, and you can do what I do, is very different than those who are heroes who have achieved and then put it on the line. They take the hit and we wind up getting the benefits, and they need to be celebrated. So right now, with everything that's going on, with all the athletes around the country, all of them who are standing up right now for racial justice and against police brutality. They all should be, in addition to wearing the name of George Floyd and all that, they need to be lifting up John Carlos. They need to be lifting up Colin Kaepernick. They need to be lifting up those folks who are in their sports who are heroes. And that helps us have a conversation on who we need to be talking to have a benefit for our community.
So again, what I was saying to you, I find our upper echelon middle class, they they are disconnected from the real community. In their minds, they're connected because they go to church on Sunday, possibly because now even our churches have moved out of the urban core for the most part, or they have satellite uh, branches. Uh, I find that we can't look at one another and take uh, criticism well about the part that we play in the complacency. I say that we play, and I've talked to you about Leon's Supermarket in the past, and you know I point the finger a whole lot, but I was like, Carlos, you black, and how many times did you take your butt by Leon's Supermarket to do some business? I didn't feel too bad because at one time I lived right around the corner and had to use Leon's whether I wanted to. And that's another point that there was nothing else in our neighborhood, nobody else there. And now he gone. Now where did they go? And we had the power as black people to prevent that. And Leon should be thriving, should be one of the number, you know. And so there's something wrong with that picture when you have all these PhDs in our community that say that they're for the community, and yet there has not been no solid economic strategy to empower us. What do you have to say on that?
Well, that has a lot to do, Brother Carlos, with our mental conditioning. You know, I think we sometimes have to step back because we're too close to it. We can't see it here. So let's just step over and say we were going to an African country that was colonized. Then you think about an African country, let's take Ivory Coast, if you will. The educational system that was set up by the French there wasn't set up so the folks there, the Ivorians, can be able to run their own country. It wasn't set up so they can run their own affairs. It wasn't set up so they can mine their own gold and mine their own oil. It wasn't set up so that they can take control of the cocoa industry, which is a $4 billion a year industry, and they're producing most of the cocoa in the world and getting hardly nothing for it. It was set up to benefit the French. So the French set up the schools, the French set up the educational system, the French set up the church. So our people who went through all that had a mind that was what? French. Or more importantly, pro-French. In other words, they see the best way they can realize their potential is to be in service to the French. Now, you and I can turn on a TV program and watch a documentary, we'll get it just like that. And yet, when the cameras turn on the United States, somehow we feel that it's not supposed to work that way.
It's not applicable here.
But it works exactly that way. And that's the reason why when we get up and go to school in the morning, the school was set up to benefit not us. It was set up to benefit the political economic structure.
All right, I'm cutting you off. But that is the premise of my conversation. Do we talk to each other squarely? Because when I talk to these people, the take I get is, nigga, you ain't got no doctorate. Who are you? You know, and I'm like, that's not what is being said. Let's make that clear.
Okay,
but the
but
vibes,
Carlos,
huh?
but Carlos, you just made my point. You don't. What you're dealing with is a colonial, colonized, what we call Negro mind that was set up not to benefit you, not to benefit the institutions we have in our community, but to make us feel that we're at the highest achievement of ourselves if we're serving other people.
All right, and so that's why I have these programs, and I spoke to you earlier about networking and the importance of us having our own voice, narrative, and all of that. And when the thing is, how did these people get in these positions? And all I know how to do is truth to power. You have superintendents, you have people over government agencies that look like you and me. And a lot of times the businesses that you and myself are in, we're the last ones to get a contract or a look. And when these people that don't look like us are in these positions, they just bam, 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 and they don't apologize. And, you know, I'm like, I understand the mindset that you're talking about, because that's what I push ever since you came out your mother's womb. If you really understand history, all history starts in Africa, so that means everything is black. And Europeans around the 14th or somewhere start whitewashing history. And once they start whitewashing history, it was like the Matrix. Everybody was going to believe and do what they put out there. And anyone that wasn't with that program, they were like Neo. They were the enemy. And when you speak of these iconic sport figures and civil rights figures, these quite a few, I'm not going to say all, middle class, upper middle class, they want to visualize themselves as they're down dirty with the lower part of our community. And they couldn't carry that cross that a Kaepernick or Carlos carried, because that means loss of income. Kaepernick's in the era where the politics and everything was right, and he already had some money, so they couldn't do nothing really to him. But ordinarily, the Christ or all these iconic figures, they had crosses to bear, real crosses. And our community, our upper echelon, they want to talk that talk, but they're not walking the walk. And I'm just asking you, man to man, how do you see it?
Well, first of all, what you described is basically accurate. What what I'm having a conversation with you about is the why. If we understand the why, then we can understand our response has to be connected to the why.
Well, why don't they see it? That's what I'm saying. You got all these degrees and you don't look at yourself and say, I've been educated by somebody else?
Well, if you and I get on our little plane and we fly to the Ivory Coast, what we're going to see is folk who will be looking at me and you and speaking French, who will see themselves as
Frenchmen,
and see that their aspirations are connected to being as more French than the French people. They didn't get up, they weren't born that way. That came from the mental conditioning that the education and the institutions there put them through. Now, here's the difference. If you mentally condition, then you're not going to respond well to logic. Now, if I'm in my right mind and things happen the right way, and then I can deal with logic. But if I'm mentally conditioned then I don't understand logic. So you can't go to someone who's not in their natural mind and argue logic because
Well,
they're
it's
going to
hard
look
to go
at
to
you
anybody
like you're
then,
straight.
because most of these people, only logic they see is some dollar signs. And a lot of these blacks, they say they act like they Democrats, and they might be Democrats, but they got a Republican philosophy when it comes to these economics.
Well, but that's what they were trained to have, Carlos. So if we want to address this, then we have to address it differently. If, in other words, let me say it like this: if it was just about somebody breaking it down and putting it out there logic to them and wake them up, all you got to do is go around with a Malcolm X tape and just play it, and then they'd be cured. It's not going to, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. It's not about the logic. What we have to
Can
do.
I get personal for a minute?
Well, let me.
All right, I want to talk
you
about
gotta,
your school. Because
yeah,
when you start talking about logic, I want to start talking about that damn Southeast and when it turned into an Afrocentric school and the type of kids that it was putting out
oh yeah.
and why that was taken down. And from my perspective, the conversation we're having on that part of our social structure in the diaspora, where was they damn support?
Well, that's a very good transition point because in the National Black United Front, when we looked at this issue of socialization, which is about taking back control of our minds, we knew that the way they would grab our mind, our oppressors would grab it, is through the educational system. So we can go and argue with people logically about stuff, but if they've been educated the other way, they won't even understand what we're talking about. So we had to get in there and get control of our schools. That is what it was all about. Now, you were there, so you saw the difference between how our children respond when they are the central focus, when we are intentionally educating them to be a force for powerful change, not only here in America, but for African people around the world. That is very threatening to the state legislature, to people who run America, and it's very scary to the Negro mind that has been conditioned to get frightened whenever they think that something is going on outside the script of being accepted and becoming European. What do they call it? There's a Afropean is what they call it. Being black and having a Eurocentric.
I have to have a Eurocentric point of view, but I'm African.
That's right. So the strategy for us was a strategy of creating a model that others could use. And here's the thing.
Scalable.
Scalable. But if it were not for the fact that the whole educational system is programming us, essentially colonizing our mind to work against our own interests, work for the interests of people who are oppressing us. If it wasn't that case, then there would not have been the reaction to us who are working to free our minds and work for our own interests. There was a reaction. And the reaction came from folk who, our own people who had matriculated up those processes, which means they passed the test to be an administrator, to administrate the power of oppression over their own people. They passed the test.
I'm the governor, Caesar. I'm just carrying out Caesar's orders, even though I look like you.
That's right. Yeah. I am the board president. I am a member of the school board. In other words, they passed the test with flying colors on whether or not they will move against their own interests of their own people. They passed that test. And when it came to a loggerhead, and we struggled to court, went to court, did all we could, but we were not successful. I mean, that's what happens.
But the community loss. I'm telling you, my grandson right now is at Lincoln, and he's in the 10th grade. He went there, top flight. at Lincoln, he's in the top 10 in his class right now. All of that basic work that y'all put in and forming them kids' minds, they didn't get them all, baby, because y'all got a bunch of classes out, and that has changed a lot of people's lives, and we still don't know what that domino effect a leader from our community possibly will be coming out of some of them kids that you helped shape by taking control of that educational piece. I just can't believe that our community let that go down like that.
Well, it went down like that all over the country. We were one place that had outlasted most every other place in the country. When it was going on in New York, the governor took over the schools in New York
We
City.
ain't having this, huh?
When it went on in Michigan and Detroit, the governor took over the schools in Detroit. And so that is a phenomenon. But what it says is if you in America and you black and you go along with the program, you lose.
And
As a people,
what
you
about the
lose.
ones that think they win and don't really look at the repercussions about their kids, kids, and our kids?
Thinking you winning is part of the program. You're supposed to think you win even when you lose. That's part of the program. So you want to know, why is it that we don't come together? We don't communicate. We don't talk to each other. We don't work together because we've been programmed not to do that. And we don't even know we've been programmed not to do it. That's part of the program. So that's when folks, the young people have this expression called being woke. We used to call it being conscious.
Yeah, I'm always saying, are you woke?
Yeah, and when you woke, the next thing you gotta do is get up. You can't be woke and lay in the bed all day long. You gotta get up and you gotta get out here and get to work for your people. So in that regards, there is yes, we went through that period. That was 24 years of solid work and great progress to see it all end on a day. But that didn't stop the movement. That didn't, as you mentioned, I'm so happy you mentioned that. They couldn't go in and take everything out of the minds of the young people that we had placed in there. All they could do was close it down and then act like somehow or another they made progress. And of course, they got congratulated. Some people wind up with some great promotion and jobs.
Everybody has sycophants in their regime.
But
that's how you move up.
That's right. That is the way it happens.
Eat a little cheese, become a bigger rat.
That's right.
That's Mr. Nelson saying that.
That's a good point. However, but we learned some lessons from that, and then we relearned some lessons. But the most important thing is what you said earlier, and that is we impacted a lot of lives, and those lives will go on and impact other lives, and we will move on and continue to struggle. That's basically what we're here for.
How do you see, from a political standpoint, how do you see the Black community here, political voice?
Well, that's a good question.
A strong political voice. And if we don't have one, what do you see we need to be doing to create one with accountability?
Well, I guess the question becomes stronger compared to where. Are we saying that, hey, man, we go to Columbia, Missouri, man, they got
no, I ain't talking about to no other place, but what you know, the resources, the population, and what you know about business life and all of that.
All right,
what would you be getting or demanding for our population size? I was looking at something and it was like we 13% of the United States population, but when it comes to representation and everything else, we're really down low. And economics is the key. So what I want to know is, do you think that we're getting what we deserve if we're working on the community's effort to achieve economic traction, educational, and housing, and if we're not, what are your suggestions?
Well, no, we're not getting what we deserve. We're a long way from that.
And
And and and not only we're not getting what we deserve, we are. I think a lot of people see this as if we're in a race, and in the race we're just behind, and we got to run hard to catch up. Well, there's a difference between being in a race and being in a fight. In a race, everybody's moving in the same direction. In a fight, there's somebody whose job it is to keep you from going forward. If you win, they lose. Okay, and so we have structural uh, resistance placed in our path to keep us from making gains. Now we know that. Okay, that's nothing new. Didn't just happen last week. Didn't just happen 200 years ago. This has been going on more than 400 years. Okay, it's been in place. You can't explain America without having an understanding of how that works. Okay. Neely Fuller says, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you. Okay. So we got to have an understanding of that. In the context of that, if we believe that by getting elected to office,
This is brought to you by Willard's Book and Vinyls.
then we don't understand what politics is all about. So if you don't mind, I just like to go back a little bit so I can build a foundation for this. All right. So what happens is your economics is based on your ecology. That's the stuff that's around you. So if you and I live in a place where we're right on the coast, then our economics is going to be based on fishing. If you and I are in a place that has a lot of arable land, then it'll be based on farm. So the economics is what you use in your ecology for your own benefit that you can trade with other people. Your politics governs your economics. So the politics is there particularly to help advance your economics. All right. And then the politics is controlled by your culture. In other words, the values you set up control the decisions that you make in politics, which controls the use of your ecology to support your economics. So now let's look at now that I said that, let's look at the picture that we have here. As people, we live in an environment, in an ecology where none of the natural resources here we control. None. We don't control the major financial institutions. We don't. So that we don't have. The only resource we control, basically, that we have is our labor for the most part. Now, there's some folks who have something more than labor. They have a little assets. But for the most part, labor. Which means our politics should be set up to make sure that the labor that we have, we get the most out of it, that we can earn the most, that we can take those earnings and invest. That's what it should be for. But what do we ask for in politics? The politics that we have and the folks that we have get elected, they're essentially trying to work on our issues when they can get around all the other things that come in front of them. So we have people that have, in politics, if our politicians were moving our agenda forward, then we should be able to look and see how we've grown economically. So when did we have our first African-American mayor in Kansas City? Well, 1992, Emanuel Cleaver, right? Now we're on our third one. With all the elected officials we have in city council, we should be seeing a line of progression of our economic growth. Why don't we see it? Because it's not just up to them. Again, this is not a race. This is a fight. There are laws, forces like the police and other that are in place that'll do what they can to keep us in check. And the most effective tool to keep us in check is the entire process of education that conditions our mind. Media is part of that education as well. That's the reason why we got to have our own media, like Cascade Media, to get our message out there, to do some unconditioning of the condition that we have on our mind. So to answer your question, no, we're not getting what we deserve. But we can't get what we deserve if we feel like we've got to do this thing the way everybody else does it. Because it may work great for them, but it's designed to fool us and work against us.
Ajamu, you've been knowing me really since you got here, and you've definitely been knowing me since I built Cascade Media Group. And when I have built this company, it was constant and still is. Well, what's your business model? What's your business model? Those models work for them. I'm creating a new model that works for me. And I get more pushback from my people than you get from them. I don't understand it.
You understand it. You understand it exactly. You just don't want to understand it. That's different. Once you just say, I don't want to.
Now I'm pointing the finger at they don't want to understand I don't want to understand.
You don't want to understand.
But I do want. You're right.
You do understand.
I do understand. But it's just so mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It's like the shiny object they use in Africa. They always use the monkey and the tree knot, and the shiny object is in there. He puts his and then won't let it go and can't get his fists out.
Yeah. So, Carlos, if we understand, then we can put together a different strategy. If we use a football analogy, and I know you're going to run the ball on three snaps, and I'm lining up as if you're going to pass it, then you're going to gain yards. Now, I can say, I don't understand how come my guys ain't making the tackle. I don't understand how come they're aggressive. But if you know the play, you got to reposition your players. You got to have a different strategy. There's a sister who, her name is Wanda Muhammad. I just ordered a book from her. She's a phenomenal sister. She's in the hospital industry. They're building a hospital right now in Detroit, I think. She designs and builds hospitals and owns them. But in her book, she says, those old business models don't work for us. Now, I don't know anybody that's more creative than we are. I mean, we created the concept of time. All right? We created the concept of engineering. We changed the direction of the now. We created mathematics and jazz. Nobody's more creative than us. But our problem is, if we keep acting like we don't understand what's going on, we shutting off the creativity. And we in the box. And Carlos, like I know, you can't read the label if you're stuck in the box. So the label is saying it's time for us to go a different way. We know the play, go a different way.
That's what I'm trying to do. It's like when I'm having all kinds of eclectic discussions. And when I get on history and I'm dealing with Europeans and I'm like, listen, bud, I don't want to hear nothing. All history starts in Africa. End of story. You want to debate that? Mum is the word then. And that would, all of that type stuff really wouldn't come out without Black scholars digging into what the truth of history is about mathematics, science, even thought.
Well, I'll tell you what, the question is, how do we use history as a teaching tool to solve today's and tomorrow's problem?
It's got to be taught. When I was saying that, my whole thing was that history is not being taught in the schools. So right off the bat, we have, as people of color, whether you yellow or brown or black, Europeans have whitewashed history. And what does that do to a young mind? I come up in the 50s and the 60s. I never seen a black hero. All I seen was Stymie and Amos and Andy, some chicanery and all of that. Now, what just in the last week or so really clarified, and you and I all know this, but when I did that interview with Lee Barnes' son, and he had went to Chick, Afrocentric. He was different in his approach to his community and everything, and it just slammed me when you get them at that age. So I imagine, and when I have these conversations, it takes me back to my fourth and fifth grade classes. I can remember in New York, as clear as day, reading the Daily Reader, reading Run, Dick, and Jane, and Sally. There was buckwheat was the if you got any black in anything, and never seen a black hero on nothing. You rooting for the Lone Ranger and Tonto, and you rooting for all of these images as a young person that don't look like you. Every movie that is made, you're never the hero.
All right. So we know the play. All right. So here's the strategy, Carlos. Our kids at home all day long now. Their parents going crazy trying to figure out something to do to educate their mind. This is now that this plague is going on. Wouldn't it be very powerful if you use this media, this black media, to have programming where they can turn you on and see black heroes, black sheroes, where they can look at themselves in positions of authority and power. That material's already out there. But if you had gathered it together and you put the word out there, look, have your kids turn on Cascade at 10 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Fridays.
Well, hold it, but yeah, the ideal thing about this internet, and this is the part I'm saying about have our leadership served us. Black people can say, I don't have internet and I don't have this and I don't have that, but we all have that phone.
Yeah, everybody got internet now.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
they understood
no
the economics of it.
For anyone in a leadership position not to be talking about how we connect to our network.
Why are you waiting on somebody?
Well, I'm saying because frankly, for my research, I'd have to spend to get the type of attention just from my community without asking the leadership and the ministers to say this and that. You have to spend about $20,000 or more in a marketing campaign just to make our community really aware that there's a Cascade Media, that they have their own, we have our own. A lot of, because what I do, you using Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, these other people's platform to even get some notoriety in your community. The economics is in when your community and people that look like you are going to your network where you're racking up the viewership and sponsors and companies want to be on your network and they pay. When BET got into it, MTV had it locked down. But when blacks start going to their own network, now whites start going to the black network. And I'm like, again, I don't want to say what part of that I don't understand because you already, I don't want you to crack.
No, I'm not going to make that point. I'm just going to say something else to it. And that is this. Now, I've been in business 32 years. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I learned something. What I learned is this: don't run from them and don't chase them. In other words, if there is, this is how Facebook is doing, this is how Instagram is doing. If you're trying to be like them, you chase them. If they come in your space and you get mad, you're running from them. There's a service that our people need right now, and that is we are craved, we are hungry for something that empowers us. And if you're a parent, You looking for anything. Now that these kids at home all day long and you trying to work right at the same time, that can get into their minds, grab their attention, and lift them up. The problem out there is not that the material isn't available. What we don't have is someone pulling the material together and presenting it on a vehicle, on a platform that you have to say, here it is. Now, why is that different? It's because you would be solving a problem that is right there in front of us with a resource you have, being creative about it without permission. You had to ask nobody, could you do this? You did it. And if all it would take is for you to have some of these sharp young people you have that are teenagers or in their early 20s and have them compile some material for an elementary school or a junior high school that will show them some powerful, historic, and powerful images that will undo the brainwashing that they are getting in their school and their mind and make it available so parents can say, oh, it's time for you to sit in front of, we can pull up, what you doing on that computer? Girl, pull up Cascade Media. You sit here, I want you to see.
And let me say this, we got that right now. If you go to our History channel, Sonny Gibson, they just 2 minutes. Did you know the first black car dealership was on 18th and Vine? Did you know
go.
That?
So I just say grow that. If you already got it, grow that. Now that's just that's one place. What are some other issues we got in our?
Well, we have to hold it. For the kids, we got a gaming channel. They all like to do this. We have a gaming channel for them. We got a fashion channel. All the fashionistas, we have it. We have a community relation. You got a community organization, you can come on Cascade, tell what your organization's doing. We have a poetry channel.
You are doing the right thing. Now it's up to people like me and the listeners out there who are the viewers who are viewing this to go ahead and spread that word to our community to plug in.
Yeah, and that's the problem I'm saying. What I'm like you said, you've been in business. The problem is it's almost like religion. They go to church on Sunday, get on their damn knees and everything, and then get out of church by Monday, they hell on wheels. And they forget about what they said they were going to do. I'm going to be good. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drug. And when we go to these meetings about coming together to move forward with traction, a lot of times, as soon as they walk out the door, it's the warm and fuzzy feeling when we all together. But when they walk out that door and it's time for you to tell your organization, hey, everybody go here, or it's lost. And what I have come up with, that I've got to generate enough money to put a campaign on just like the white companies. And when you put that marketing campaign on, they're going to come and then they're going to know. And you're not going to have to say, Reverend so-and-so, will you ask your congregation? Or so-and-so, you ask your, because they're seeing it on the billboards, they're seeing it on cable, and they're seeing it in your call and what have you.
You chasing. Now you just violated my second rule.
All right, I'm chasing. I don't want to chase.
Don't chase them. You know that right now, think about this. Yeah, you can put a billboard up, but people now.
Oh yeah, I just use that. No, I wouldn't spend no money on billboard. At one time, I thought about that.
In fact, this is not just a comment between the two of us. This is between any of us that are out here running any organization in any kind of leadership position. We got to say, how is everybody else doing it? Boom. Now, how can I do that better and different? I ain't chasing. I ain't running from them. I'm going to where I need to go. So when I get over there, I got, as they say, a blue ocean in front of me.
But I tried that. My thing was more like get in touch with all the black clergy and then because whether I'm on the same political spectrum or any other thing, we're all black, and ask them, would they ask their congregation to come to church a certain day with their phone? On that one day, we probably would get maybe 2,000, 2,500 new viewers and subscribers. That's real simple. I'm saying, so you're dealing with, like, let's say even 12 ministers, a phone call, bam. How, but they won't do so. You organizations, we got a bunch of community organizations, let's say CDCs. Hey, how about sending something out to all of your email list, just a flyer saying blah, blah, blah. Mm-mm. Or how about sharing your email list? So that the educational system that we spoke of, that they can be real proud that they have done their work, and that work is sticking like gorilla glue when it comes to us working together.
Now here's something, Carlos. You're gonna owe me for giving you this, all right?
All right, put it in the mail now. I'll put the check in the mail sometime.
You might want to. Well, here it is. Every organization, community organization, all around the country is trying to figure out how to do one thing that they never had to worry about before in the history of the planet, and that is, how in the world do we have a conference convention that we would normally have with a bunch of people in one room? How do we have it virtually and not make it feel like it's two people up there talking heads at them? How do we bring the energy to that? How do we get the feel for that and the participation in it? Everybody's asking that question.
Well,
hold up. If Cascade Media can present to an organization by presenting something visual, because you're a visual media, and say, let me show you what your conference can look like with Cascade Media. You change the face of the world.
I know that changes the game plan. I'm doing that with the front right now.
That's right. So what I'm saying is this: packaging that up, because this is what you and I know right now. If the plague ends tomorrow, people ain't gonna never stop having video conferencing.
Oh no, this is a game changer. It's gonna make people lose jobs and everything.
That's right.
Corporations are reshuffling that deck. The working class might not be looking. A bunch of people gonna be out of jobs in the next year.
Yeah, and you would have, your place would be filled with young technicians if you were the guy that figured out how to do a conference virtually with energy and participation, to have people feel like, next year when we had a conference live, I ain't going. I'm just going to sit here and watch it on Cascade because I feel like I'm into it. You figure that out. You figure out how somebody can.
I got it figured out, but you have to have the right people to talk to that can see it. This is
having the right people.
Said to a couple.
Having the right people is part of figuring that out.
All right. As I said, I've got that figured out myself. All right. On how to do all of that, but
put it together.
If you don't have the people that are willing to implement a strategy, that's where I see you can have the best ideas, but they get crushed in going up the ladder.
Carlos, I'm gonna say something very humbly, and this is the most humble and respectful way I can say it. What you described to me about what happened, that's not reality. That is your mental conditioning that you just described to me. You can pull all that together. You pull together an entire media enterprise where you got folks connected all over the African world, on the continent, in the Caribbean, right here. You did all that. You did that when people didn't even know what you was talking about. You can pull together this piece. Don't put no limits on it, because that's the conditional. You can put together this piece and pull this off to where you would be having at least 2 floors of that building, because you got people in there who are coding, who are designing, who are putting together conferences, conventions, and everybody wants to say, I ain't going no more. I'm just gonna sit right here and watch it on Cascade. You can do
But
that.
that's where sports and everything is going.
Everything is going there. And in order to go there, they got to get through you. So you already well positioned, but now take that mental jazz and push it out and make it happen. Don't
Well,
turn it
I'm
into
doing that and
yeah,
using the front as an example, hopefully doing this Kwanzaa on what we
that's right.
do.
Because I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're going to be doing, and folks who are listening to this, you know, the National Black United Front, Kansas City, been doing citywide Kwanzaa celebrations for 37 years. And this will be the first year, just like everywhere else, where it's not going to be live, where we're not going to be all in one spot, but we're going to do it. And we're going to do it over the media, and the media, our media partner, we're going to use our own black media, which is Cascade Media Group, to make it happen. And with this brother that you're seeing sitting right there, Carlos Nelson, and his resources, we're going to make sure that you're going to have an experience that won't be like anything else you ever had over the internet. We're gonna have Kwanzaa. And I am telling you now, I'm challenging all of you to get prepared for Kwanzaa, for Buy Black Saturday, and for Emoji Karamu, all 3 of those events, and they're all are going to be broadcast on this network. I want you all to be prepared for that. This brother is going to show you how we can come together and still have spirit of community virtually. And you're not going to be the same again. And I'm challenging all of y'all to let everybody know we're going to take our own black media from being right here on the ground, and we're going to put it in the stratosphere. And you're going to see why it's important that you get involved and be part of this. We got our own media, we got our own resource. Let's turn that resource into an economic engine.
Jamal, is there anything specific? Because we could go on and on. I think what I want to do with you as an elder, maybe every 2 weeks or something, you come on and we just have a conversation. And I think we need to have more things like this, not just with me, where we're, we're talking black man to black man uh, about our future, about our grandbabies and our great grands and what have you. And I think if we're having these real conversations, really, I'd like for you to host the next one and bring somebody on from not just Kansas City, that's in a different city, that's black, that's dealing with the same social and economic ills that we're dealing with here. And uh, to me, that helps anyone that's looking at this on the down end to see it's not just you. Uh, this is going on around the country, and by virtue of you looking at this broadcast, you can see that we're trying to put some thought to some problem solving that will solve things in a systemic way that will make some changes. When you came on and called Bussy last year when we did our first business show, you made some profound statements about the system. You can fire everybody, all the police, and you can fire them all and put new people in there. But if you don't change the system, you're going to get the same results. And so I think that uh, my thing is I don't really want to work with anyone that just wants to talk about the problems. And that might be not right either, but I only want to work with people at 69. I don't have a lot of time left on the planet that are geared towards systematic change and are not upset with excessive. We have some excessive issues, and you're going to have to use some excessive means to deal with those issues.
Well,
So
tell you what, Carlos, you give me 3 weeks and I'll be prepared to have a show, come onto the show and interview someone from either right here or possibly out of town that we can have a conversation with that will hopefully be engaging and enlightening for people. So yeah, give me 3 weeks. We'll make it happen.
any closing words you'd like to deliver to our community?
Yes. One thing I want to let folks know, that the National Black United Front, you can certainly, we have a page here on Cascade. We have our Emoji Karamu celebration that's coming up, and that is going to be on the 22nd of November. And then the Saturday, again, the Emoji Karamu, 22nd of November, 4 o'clock, it's going to be virtual.
Tell them what that's about for the brothers and sisters that don't know what that's about.
It's a harvest festival. It's us coming together during that time of the year, breaking bread, and then we go through 5 eras of our history. We reflect on those lessons, and then we make a commitment for change going forward in the future. We do it collectively. We've been doing it now for 22 years. And so we're going to do it again. Nothing again. We're not stopping because of the plague. We're taking this as an opportunity for us to get stronger. So that's Emoji Karamu. Those of you who have attended before, you know what we're talking about. Then the Saturday following Thanksgiving is Buy Black Saturday for us. Now, you know, Brother Carlos, we have been doing that for years. You've been there, you videoed it. It's our chance to bring all of our African-American vendors together. Well, let me say, all of our African vendors together, because there are folks who are from Somalia, there are folks who are from Ethiopia. So if you're African, you should be in a place. We put those businesses together, and you come in, you have an opportunity to shop with them. Now we're going to do it virtually. And during that same time, we're going to have a live show. There'll be conversation, there'll be entertainment, and there'll be an opportunity for you to shop with our vendors, with your own folk. You support Black, buy Black at the same time. And then, of course, from the 22nd to the 1st of January, Kwanzaa. This year is going to be a little different because we have other National Black United Front chapters who are going to participate and host tonight. We can do that now because we're virtual. Before we couldn't do that, and so we're going to be doing that as well. And even though Kwanzaa is going to be virtual, those of you who come to Kwanzaa every year, we always say this: Kwanzaa ain't no movie, so it's going to be virtual, but it ain't going to be no movie. It'll be live, and we'll be live streaming, and we're going to be working right off of our Black platform, Cascade Media. So you don't have any excuse, brothers and sisters. You can't go nowhere. So you might as well take this time to unprogram your mind and get the right programming in there that'll make you self-reliant, self-determined, ready to struggle for your people, and eventually, Carlos, be a race man and a race man.
That's I guess I didn't get my big R, but let me try to. Hey, I want to get my big R next year. This time, I'm putting in some work. And don't think we're going to be having this conversation. Do I get my R yet? Yeah, have I done enough yet?
Well, look here, at the rate that you're going, and the pace that you're going, next year, Kwanzaa, we should have an R waiting for you.
All right, this is what I want to ask you. We got on politics. I want to close this damn thing out, but I did the interview with this girl, Tracy Chappelle. She's running for prosecutor. What do you think about that? And do you think that we should be, we talked about a little bit, Puffy and Ice Cube. Do you think that we should be about these loyalty to these parties?
Well, Carlos, an interesting question. Back in 1984, Michael Fisher, you remember Brother Michael Fisher?
Yeah.
Used to be in the mayor's office. We were in a meeting together. In fact, the meeting was at Leon Dixon's house in his basement. And there was a bunch of folk in there.
Central State graduate.
That's right. There's a bunch of folks in there, and everybody was talking about the election of Ronald Reagan running for office again, his second term. And Michael Fisher said, I'm telling y'all, we ain't gonna be able to survive 4 more years under Ronald Reagan. Well, he got elected, and we're still here. Okay. The second thing, we saw this happen again with George Bush Jr. After he ran in 2004, he's running again. Folks said, we ain't gonna be able to survive another 4 years of George Bush. Well, he got reelected, and we're still here. My point is, we've been hearing that song 400 years. The question, brothers and sisters, is not can we survive under Trump or whoever gets elected. The question is, what are we going to do for ourselves in spite of them getting elected? And this goes back to a conversation that I had with some folks on a call earlier this week. And that is, we ought to be working so that racism and white supremacy in America are irrelevant when it comes to us. We got a choice. We can put all our efforts into making it go away, and I'm okay with people who want to work on that. Or we can put our efforts into making sure it don't matter.
Well, that's
because we are strong enough, we are well enough organized, and we don't see ourselves as some minority group in America. We're part of a worldwide African people of over 1.3 billion people with connected to a continent that has more resources than any other continent in the world.
Hold it. There's strong life to everybody that's on this damn planet. Let's get that straight.
Why are we sitting around here acting like we're some minority and we don't have any options? Because our mental conditioning. So we're going to break that by saying this, and that is, let us work not to end racism, not to end white supremacy, but to make them both irrelevant. That's the charge. And then that we take that point, then I can tell you we're going to survive whoever get elected. So I ain't worried about it, because I ain't putting my hopes on any one of them coming and saving me. I'm putting my hopes on what it is that we can do and must do for ourselves. We can do it. Oh, I'm so confident that we can do it.
A new mindset on that, a new way of thinking about everything. The hell with everybody. I'm full steam ahead on what I need to be doing. If you putting up a concrete wall with barbed wire and fire behind it, doesn't mean nothing to me. I'm bringing my hose and my extinguisher and my jackhammer.
That's right.
And I don't even care who put it up. I'm coming through.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, that's what I heard you say just now.
That is the spirit. And you take that spirit, then that releases and frees your creativity. It opens up your mind. It gets you outside the box. And you get out, when you get out the box, you can read the label. The label said, stay in here if you want to be a fool. So you get that foolishness behind you and you go at it. And that's, to me, is the best reason to pull our people together. That's the best reason. That we're going to make all this stuff irrelevant. What else we got to talk about, Carlos?
We ain't got nothing else to talk about right now. And as I close on, well, first I got to steal Jim Watts's Make His Ass Mad, steal his closing. It was a plum pleasing pleasure to have you on the show. That's his closing. I steal that every time. He better not steal mine. I'm going to be all upset. My closing is, and this is from my heart, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.